Okay, this slideshow will talk to you about how to target your report, how to construct it, and how to write the most effective recommendation report you can for this assignment. We're going to go through each of the parts of the assignment one by one. We'll start with the cover page. Of course, like all of your writing in college, the cover page has a title, or the report has a title, which is on the cover page. But what makes a good title? A good title is not report or report from English 290 or anything remotely resembling that. A good report title tells something specific about the report. In this case, since you are writing a report about how to improve a particular website, you may make the title about improving the quality of thus and so website by, and then you explain your main takeaway point. In addition, this one will have what I'll call a subtitle. You might call it simply a kind of self-description, a recommendation submitted to, and then you name the client company. Of course, you want to include your name as well as a date. Fair warning, you should not put the date in numerical form as in the topmost example, but you should put it in the form where you write out the month. I've said this before, I'll say it again, but somebody will put it in the topmost form anyway. Why would you want to do this? Why does it matter? Because the month is written out because it is more clear in international contexts. Now, of course, you're writing for a local business, but you don't know the background necessarily of everybody who's going to read it. And my view is you should just write the month out by habit all the time. Never put it in the form on the top because there's always the potential for ambiguity. Following the cover page is an executive summary, which is a very particular kind of text. It is a page that summarizes the whole thing and is sometimes read separate from the rest of the report. This means that it has to be independently understandable without reference to the rest of the report, and it also has to be comprehensive. That is, all of your main points in the report should be in the executive summary, which is at maximum 1 page for this assignment. Because of the nature of the executive summary, I'm going to suggest that you write it last, not first, even though it comes first. The first real part of the report is the introduction. What are you introducing? Well, you start off by talking about the client company's market, its location, its history, what it does, who it serves, how long it's been there, that sort of thing. Well, of course, your client knows all of these things. But why are you putting that in the introduction? Because you want your client to know that you understand them. You're trying to establish your credibility, and a description of what the client's business is about is a key way to do that. Then you put forward the situation of this report. You are about to analyze the client's website, if they have one. You will then compare it to other relevant websites and offer a set of recommendations. In essence, what you were doing is road mapping the report. Then typically the introduction ends with a discussion of what you hope the reader might get out of the report. Now, these are not subsection titles. These are all just part of the introduction. But in general, you want to end the introduction on an optimistic note. Do you think that by implementing your recommendations, the company is going to actually grow its client base? Well, is that realistic? Maybe. If so, say so. Alternatively, it might not grow its client base so much in the immediate sense. It might increase brand recognition or distinguish itself from others. That might be a precursor to some kinds of growth later. maybe in some sense franchising or opening multiple locations. In any event, there needs to be some consequence to the report, or else there's no reason to have written it. Now, the problem analysis section is the first really meaty section of the report. Here you need to describe the website that you are trying to improve. You want to look at what it's structured like, how people go through it, what kinds of features it has, how deep it goes. And then you also want to identify any flaws or limitations, design problems, and also potential for improvement. Now, flaws can be of various sorts. Things can be ugly or they can be unworkable. The lack of a social presence, like on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or Tumblr, might be not bad for some companies, but bad for others. It will depend on the company you are targeting. But you need to identify what makes their website in need of improvement. The next meaty section of the report is the part where you compare it to other websites. First, you need to explain what you're doing, how you chose your samples. Your sample websites should be somewhat similar in one way or another. If you are dealing with a mom and pop grocery store, then you can't go to Walmart's website and say, well, here's something we can learn from. I mean, you could, but it's such a different business that it's not going to give you much guidance. On the other hand, if you found another mom and pop grocery store or another barbershop or another restaurant that had a better website, then you could target that. Pick websites that are similar enough that in terms of size, in terms of the market, in terms of the business model. By model, I mean, well, if you're looking at a retail website where people, for a store that people walk in and buy things or get services from, like a barbershop, then looking at another kind of website where people sign up for stuff or download stuff or order stuff online is not going to be really helpful. It's a completely different business model. Unless part of your recommendation is for the company to go online. Easier said with retail products than with haircuts, I know, but you see the point. Try and find websites that are close enough that a comparison will make sense. Then you do your analysis. The analysis needs to be one website at a time. And then what I would suggest is that you go through whatever features you went through in analyzing your client's website. Look at the same features in the same order. And that way you can create a kind of symmetry among different parts, a parallelism between your analysis and your comparative look. The final section of prose is your recommendations. This is the take-home. People are either going to find these recommendations useful or not. Well, what makes a good recommendation? Good recommendations, I want to say, are limited in number. You don't have a laundry list. 3 to 5 is plenty. Good recommendations are specific. That is, they will say, make your website prettier is not a specific recommendation, but add some buttons at the top is. They're goal-oriented in the sense that you know when the recommendation has taken effect. Either the buttons are there or they're not there. Either there's a Facebook page and the Facebook page is integrated with the website or it's not. Either there's an active social media presence or there's not. And then also your recommendation section is also your conclusion section, and so you need to end on an optimistic note about the potential for the business and what it might mean to have a better website. Well, that's the end of the prose, but you've also got references. You need to cite the things that you look at. You need to do this in APA style, which is a fairly straightforward and widespread style. you're going to look at two kinds of resources or websites. They're both websites, but that is to say I don't think you're going to be quoting from print sources. The two kinds are the sample websites that you're looking at for comparison, and of course your client's website, and also the kinds of websites that I put on the on Canvas. You know, what makes a good business website, ways to improve your small business website, etc. When you're citing websites in APA, the simplest way to do it, or the most basic form, is to have the author, then the initials, not the name of the author, the first name, the initials of the first name, then the date as close as you can get it, starting with the year, because APA is arranged by year, then the article title, not in quotes, and then the words retrieved from, and the web address. So in the case of one of the websites that I gave you in the assignment itself, the APA citation would look like this. Actually, it would be hanging indent, but other than that, it would look like this. If you have any questions, you should go to the bibme.org URL on this slide, and that will guide you through the basics of looking at it. I'm not really a stickler for the most nitpicky parts of APA, but I really do want things consistent, and I want some references that are not simply a set of URLs. If you give me a set of URLs as a reference list without anything else, you will get a 0 on the part of the rubric that deals with citation, guaranteed. So just try to be consistent. Being consistent is important to me in particular and to business writing in general. Consistency goes a long way. Be consistent in everything you do, but certainly in the way you cite. How should you do this? In what order should you do this? I would say start with an outline, which means basically start with the assignment, then write the analysis of your site's website, of your client's website, then do the comparison by pulling from sources that you find appropriate, then write the recommendations, then do the introduction so that you can provide some context really that makes sense with regard to the project that you're looking at, then edit. When you've got all that in shape, then write your executive summary, and then you can post it. Maybe edit it 1 or 2 more times. Okay, that's it for this little bit of guidance, and I hope to see and enjoy these submissions soon. Thank you very much. Take care.